Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you were joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Before I do anything, I want to start here. I want to start by congratulating, for my money, the best center in the history of the NFL. One, Jason Kelce, on a fantastic career. Jason Kelce made it official today. He officially retired. I watched the entire press conference. And I don't normally even do this. I don't normally just go out of my way and like tweet at people that I don't really know without any like interaction or something like that. That's not really what I do. Unless I'm like responding to something that they said. I don't like initiate the tweet. But I wrote him and I tweeted him and I just said, excuse me, I X'd him, whatever we're doing now. Who knows? I said, just go ahead and feel free to take that speech, put it in a folder, lock it up, hold it for about 4 to 5 years or whatever the term is, and pull that right back out when it's time for you to go into the Hall of Fame. The speech that he gave was a Hall of Fame level speech. And what else would you expect from somebody who has been so humble and so gracious for the opportunities that he's received, while also at the exact same time being as confident as you can possibly be? I've never seen anyone walk the line the way that Jason Kelce has. You can't play the game the way he played it, at the level that he played it, at the size that he played it against, versus what he's had to play, what he's had to face. First, from when he first came into the league, where you had the bigger, stronger, just mountainous nose guards that just, wipe people out, to when they started having more of the dynamic, shooter gap, athletic nose guards that you're dealing with today. I think that what he's been able to do as a center at his size is remarkable. And he deserves everything that he has coming to him as far as the accolades and where he belongs in the pantheon of greats. The Hall of Fame first ballot is a guarantee. And then I think everything that he is going to receive post-playing career is something that is going to be fantastic. And I like the fact that you don't necessarily have to see him as like a talking head on a show, because he already has his post-career like podcast that's already kicking butt. And whenever they come up for renegotiation with Wave Sports and Entertainment, by the way, Waves, holla at your boy, because I'm not them. But whenever they come up for renegotiation, they're going to have to break the bank for the New Heights podcast, because they can do it on their own. What they do is so low maintenance, and how they do it is so low maintenance, but it resonates so well. There's no reason that once, Travis Kelce retires in a few more years, whenever it is, there's no reason why they can't meet up once a week to record this podcast in person and then take it on. They're family. So it's not like when homeboys or buddies come together, like they can just say, hey, this week I'm coming to your house, next week you're coming to my house. If we need to record separately, we can. It's fantastic what he's been able to do, and I'm rambling. I promise not to do that today, because I have a lot of stuff I really want to get to, but both hands salute to Jason Kelce and his career and what he's been able to do. But I've got to get to this because it is extremely important to me, being somebody who claims Florida as where he's from. I live in Georgia, but I'm only 2 hours away from the border, less than if I really need to push it. And I still identify myself as somebody from Florida, even though I have a lot of tentacles. I was born in New Jersey. I lived a lot of time. I've got that Chicago swag in me because I lived there for a bit of time. But I feel that where your adolescence is where your adolescence is spent, is where you're from. And to me, that's Florida. It's kind of made me who I am and guided my star for many years. And I take pride in that. But I can't take pride in a lot of the stuff that's happening in my state right now. And one of them happened at the University of Florida. And I'm just going to read you what Emmitt Smith had to say about his alma mater that he beloves, right? That he beloves. I'm going to read this to you and have you read it along with me. It says, I am utterly disgusted by UF's decision and the precedent that it sets. Without the DEI department, the job falls to the office of the provost, who already has their hands full to raise money for the university and continue to advance the academic studies and athletic programs. In bold, he says, we cannot continue to believe and trust that a team of leaders all made up of the same background will make the right decision when it comes to equity and diversity. History has already proven that is not the case. We need diverse thinking and backgrounds to enhance our university, and the DEI department is necessary to accomplish those goals. Instead of showing courage and leadership, we continue to We continue to fail based on systemic issues, and with the decision, UF has conformed to the political pressures of today's time. To the many minority athletes at UF, please be aware and vocal about this decision by the university, who is now closing the door on other minorities without any oversight. And to those who think it's not your problem and stay on the sidelines and say nothing, you are complicit in supporting systemic issues. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I can honestly say that I never thought I would hear Emmitt Smith say something like that. I'm not here I'm not calling Emmitt Smith or saying that he was a Tom or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you that when guys who are in the position of Emmitt Smith, where you might still be looking for opportunities, right? You might still be looking for opportunities out there to continue to make your life what it is, what it has been, to continue to live a life that has been fruitful to you. These are not normally the plays that you see people like that make. And for him to say that so directly, like you don't have to claim that he meant one thing or he said something and that's not really what he meant. No. What he said was pretty direct. What he said was pretty intentional. What he said cannot be misconstrued, right? That says a lot. But I'm not even here to debate whether or not UF needed to get rid of that department, the diversity, inclusion, and my brain is going dead, and it's the worst time for my brain to go dead. And I don't ever want to I don't ever want to not give it its full measure, but diversity, equity, and inclusion office. For him to speak that highly or speak that strongly, of the situation, it says a lot. And the opportunity is now knocking, right? Because that's a line in the sand, and you have to decide which side of the line you want to be on. And I just want you to ask yourself this, right? I'm not telling you what side to choose. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just going to ask you to go into that tweet by Emmitt Smith, right? Go into the tweet by Emmitt Smith, and when you do, go to the responses, because this tweet has 1.3 million views, 1.3 million in engagement. It has 2.5 thousand retweets. So then you know that the comments are endless, right? Because every retweet probably has comments on it. But there's 940 direct comments to his post. I want you to go on there and I want you to look at the comments and ask yourself, do you want to be aligned with the people who would make those comments? Because I feel like sometimes we make this more difficult than what it needs to be, right? Being on the right side of right just usually comes down to common sense. It normally just comes down to, are we paying attention to what's going on around us? And if we are, then we can see, oh, I don't want to be associated with them. I'm just going to be over here simply because I don't want to be associated with what's going on over there. Sometimes it's that simple. You hear these people talking about some, oh, well, because this is the number one thing that happens whenever you talk about being fair and equitable to Black people or minorities in general. You hear, oh, well, then the NBA should work off of equity, right? The NBA should be that. Then we have more basketball players that are white in there and only, right? That's what they do. Well, why don't we have a White History Month? That's what they do. But here's the thing. Have you ever wondered why when they do that whole, well, the NBA should then have more, all of the other things because the NBA is predominantly Black? You ever wonder why they don't ever push that up to where the money's at? For as much money as these NBA players are making, they're not making the level of money that these GMs and that these owners are making. Why don't they ever put it up there? Why don't they ever say, hey, let's make that equitable everywhere? Let's make it to where it's 15% Black at the GM positions. Let's make it to where it's 15% Black at the ownership positions. Aha. Right? Aha. They don't want it that because that would then expose the hypocrisy of what they're saying. If you're a Black player at the University of Florida, you want to look around and never see anyone else that looks like you other than athletes. If you're a minority at the University of Florida, not just a Black player, if you're a minority at the University of Florida, you want to look around and see a bunch of other people that don't look like you, except for on other athletics programs or whatever. Like, think of what would be the stereotypical equivalent to basketball or football players or athletes in general in a college when we're talking about other races, right? What would be the stereotypical equivalent? If you were an East Asian man or woman and you went to the University of Florida, would you only want to see East Asian people in the math department? Because that's the equivalent, right? Why do I only get to see people who look like me playing football and playing basketball? Listen, I don't regret much in my life. But I do regret excuse me, it's the wrong word. I don't regret much in my life, but I wish that I had had an HBCU experience. And here's why. Here's why. Because I grew up in an area that wasn't affluent. Just talking about me, I didn't get to see on a daily basis everywhere I turned Black excellence. I didn't get to see that. I saw Black pride, right? I saw people who believed in themselves. I saw people who wanted better, but I didn't get to see the highest level of Black on a day in, day out basis. And if I'd have gone to an HBCU, you know what I would have seen? I would have seen the highest level of Black. I would have saw the next Black millionaires and billionaires and business owners and entrepreneurs and doctors and lawyers. And I didn't get that from my college experience. I got the spattering of them. I got the concentration of them whenever we would do things like parties or get-togethers that brought most of the Black people at the school out. But that was a small number. In college, when I went to a party, I knew I could go to one party, and I went to 2 different colleges for undergrad. I knew I could go to one party that would have predominantly Black people there. And I knew that at that party, it was going to be heavily populated by people who played on the football and basketball team, and then the peripheral of that. But I could not go to another party that had predominantly Black people at it. The other parties that I went to would have some Black people, but predominantly white. That was just life. The numbers suggested that wasn't going to be the case. The diversity, equity, and inclusion office hopefully puts more Black faces around so that when I look around, I see the best and brightest of people who look like me. I see the best and brightest doing more than just playing basketball, doing more than just playing football, but I see them in the pre-med. I see them in pre-law. I see them as engineers. I see them as teachers. I see them as everything. That's what it's there for. College is supposed to allow your student body to be able to see everybody at the highest level, not just one particular type of person. So I'm not saying, hey, do this, don't go to University of Florida. Listen, if you're an athlete and you want to go to the University of Florida, feel free. But you should know that the University of Florida is not thinking about you when they make these types of decisions. If you are a Black athlete, especially, the University of Florida is not considering you when they make these types of decisions. Because if they were, somebody in that meeting would have said, hey, but what about... They didn't. Oh, we're going back to merit. Notice that nobody has gotten rid of the arm of colleges and universities that deal in legacy. Nobody has gotten rid of the opportunity for people to go to the college or the university that their mom and dad went to because that's history, right? I actually think that's fly. I think that your son should have a little bit of a better opportunity to go to a university because the dad and the granddad and the great granddad went there. I believe that your daughter should have a little bit better opportunity to go to a university because the mom and the grandma and the great grandma went there. I think that's fly because you want to be able to tell those types of stories on the campus. Yeah, you know, my mom went here in 98 to 02, and then my grandma was here back in 87. Not 87, excuse me, back in like 77, and my great grandfather was here back in 53. That's fly. Why would you not want that? Also, you want to be able to say, and her best friend was this Black woman from Mississippi who was able to come here and kick butt, and now she, all of that stuff, right? You want to be able to tell all those stories. So I'm saying that the opportunity is there for you as athletes, as Black athletes, and this is not your responsibility, but hear me here. Hear me on this. If the University of Florida wants you to come play football or basketball or track or baseball, then everybody wants you to come play football or basketball or track or baseball. If the University of Florida wants you to come play football there, there are not many other universities that won't take you. If the University of Florida wants you to come play baseball there, you can go play baseball anywhere. If the University of Florida wants you to play basketball, you can go play basketball anywhere. If the University of Florida wants you to go run track, you can run track anywhere. So if they're going to pay a scholarship for you, don't ever feel like, oh, I've got to go there. Because if the University of Florida wants you, then I can name 200 plus other universities that want you as well. And you know what they probably have in place? Opportunities for you to see faces that look like you, that come from areas that you came from. To not feel like you are a loner in the place where everybody's telling you that you're loved and your family, yet you see nobody that looks like you. You can be better than that. You know what else we can be better at? We can be better at holding college athletics and college athletes specifically to a higher standard. You know, gone are the days where we should be referring to these college players as kids. I do it, but they're not kids, right? And especially the ones who are making the decisions to go pro, they're not kids. They're adults. And they are making decisions that are quite honestly selfish. And before you tell me, oh, well, they should be selfish, I want you to think about this. Drake May and Jaden Daniels, right? And Caleb Williams, all three of them did not really participate in the combine. So then why was Drake May, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels at the combine? Oh, because of their medicals? So we couldn't have looked at their medicals at any other time. Like they came there for interviews. So we're not going to have them on our campuses for private workouts and private interviews. Anybody who has a opportunity to draft that high for a quarterback, they're going to bring them guys, bring them all. Hey, you guys that we really want, we're going to bring you here. We're going to interview you. We're going to test you, whatever, right? why not give those positions to other people who need to get on the radar, because that's the only chance they're ever going to have to be in front of all 32 teams at one time. Jason Bean completed a career and would have been kicking butt, lights out at the combine, that may have gotten him a higher draft position, may have gotten him drafted, may have allowed a team to fall in love with him and say, yo, with a little bit of fine tuning, he could be our guy. He could be the next Russell Wilson. He could be the next Jalen Hurts. He could be the next ... But he doesn't get that opportunity. And why? Because we have quarterbacks not going through the drills, not going through the workouts. But more than that, right? When did players just start not doing much of anything at the combine? Shout out to the offensive linemen, right? Much respect to the offensive linemen who went out there and competed in all the drills. Now, did all of them compete? No, they all didn't compete, right? But it was the only group that a majority of them went through the 3-cone drill and went through the 5-10-5 pro agility. That was the only group that didn't have a bunch of people cherry picking. Well, I'm either going to do the vertical jump or the broad jump. I'm not going to do them both. But at every other position, defensive line, linebacker, DB, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, you had people not competing in all of the testing. Yo, wake up, people. Opportunity is knocking. Opportunity is knocking. You have to be great, and you don't have to dare to be great when everything is perfectly fine-tuned for you. You got to dare to be great right now. Right? Bazooka Joe Milton goes out there throwing the ball. Why? Because he has to. Because he has to prove to people, hey, I have something that you want to invest in, that you want to continue to try to develop. I'm your next Josh Allen. I'm your next Justin Herbert. I'm your next insert, right? Goes out there, flashes this 80-yard cannon. 80 yards. Does he still have a lot to learn about the position? Yes. You know what he did? He went out there, he performed, he showed off this amazing arm strength. And you want to know what the Commoners did when it was time to put praise on what he did? They all brought up a time where he short-armed a flat route. Meanwhile, I can show you videos of almost every quarterback ever to play short-arming a pass to somebody, making what looks like the most horrible throw in the history of man. I can show them to you. Everybody does it. But that's part of why these guys don't want to perform. They've been told by their handlers, hey, don't risk it, because if you put a bad number up there, blah, 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 blah. Right? But we've become so deluded by what a good number and a bad number is that we have convinced people that if you run a 4.5 40, you're not fast. We've convinced people that the only fast people are people who run sub 4.4, where we have high school kids lying, acting as if they're running 4.4 40s. When I put on the film, my guy, you're an 11 100-meter guy. How can you be running a 4.4 40 if you're an 11 100-meter guy? And don't tell me, oh, well, he doesn't have 100-meter strength. Bull. That is total malarkey. That is total tomfoolery. It's cap. If you run a 4.440, a legitimate 4.440, your speed, the amount of speed that you have generated in those 40 yards is going to take you through the finish line in somewhere at either like high 10s or better. Right? 4.440 is elite level speed. 4.540s are extremely fast. That's why you see these people who get drafted and they went, well, you know, you only ran a 4.58 at the combine. Bro, that's fast. But we've been deluded into believing that it's slow, right? We've been deluded into believing that it's slow. And because we believe that it's slow, or we have a perception that it's slow, people don't want to put those numbers on their docket. We got people telling them, oh, well, you know, every time you do something, you got a chance of getting injured. And so now everything is fear. Fear of being exposed, fear of injury, fear of messing up the bag. Yo, guess what? The NFL was never built for its players outside of quarterback to become generationally wealthy. That's why, right? That's why the levels are what they are. Oh, well, he's a quarterback, so he deserves $40 million a year. The idea that Daniel Jones deserves $40 million a year, and I'm sorry, Daniel Jones, that you're catching a stray right now. This is not a diss against you. This is talking about how the game is structured. The idea that Daniel Jones deserves $40 million simply because he plays quarterback, and that Saquon Barkley doesn't that he's not worth $15 million a year because he's a running back is the most ridiculously flawed logic when it comes to playing football I have ever heard. And yet, we are still out here perpetuating it, and that makes people decide not to perform at the combine. And even worse, they do the dumbness of, okay, well, you'll go to the combine, you'll do all of the testing, or you'll do all of the medicals, you'll do the measurements, you'll talk to the press, but then you won't do anything. Or you won't do any of the combine testing, but then you'll go through the on-field workouts. Yo, Sway, how about use the testing to get yourself warmed up for the on-field workouts? Or get the hell out the way and let somebody else come to the draft that wants to. Let your Garrett Greenfields of South Dakota States and your Mason McCormicks of South Dakota States, two offensive linemen from an FCS school that are 100% going to play on Sundays. They're both polished. They're both leaders. They're both smart. They went out there and tested their butts off. There are more people. I can just start running down the names. Get out the way. If you don't want that opportunity, right? If you don't want to compete because of whatever reason, then just get out the way. The only way Xavier Worthy ever runs a 4.21 is by going out there and competing. If he doesn't go out and compete, he never runs the 4.21. And now he lives on in history. Now, every year when they do the draft, when they do the combine, guess who they're going to bring up? I remember when Megatron was coming out of Georgia Tech and he planned to not work out at the combine. He planned to not run the 40. And while he was there, he felt the competition, took somebody else's cleats, put them on, and put on. We don't have to keep doing this, and we don't have to accept it, right? Because if people don't want to perform, if they don't want to do everything, revoke their invite. And if they decide on the day before or the night before or the morning of, hey, I'm not going to be able to perform. You know what you could have there? You could have a handful of every. Whoa! Because I like to have solutions. I don't want to just complain. I want to have solutions. Run a secondary combine that happens the day after the other people compete. Because you've moved this stuff into prime time, you can have it happen in the morning. So if you get word that Drake May is not going to perform at all at the combine, by the way, can somebody tell me why you all are killing Caleb Williams and you're killing Jaden Daniels for not competing, but you haven't said a word about Drake May? I'll wait. You're killing Caleb Williams. You're killing Jaden Daniels. You talk bad about Penix because Penix didn't do anything but throw. But you said nothing about Drake May. Why does he get the pass? We're already out here trying to make him better than he's ever been. Now we got to hear ridiculousness like, well, if J.J. McCarty would have went to LSU, he would put up Jaden Daniels numbers. Excuse me? When have you ever seen J.J. McCarty run and went, that looks just like Jaden Daniels when he runs? When have you ever seen J.J. McCarty push the ball downfield vertically and go, yeah, that looks like what Jaden Daniels is doing at LSU? Never. I digress. You could have a secondary combine where if you get a player who opts out or decides that they're not going to do everything at the last minute, just replace them with another player. Allow them that opportunity to be seen in front of everybody. Just replace them. This is a television show and it's a competition, right? It's a television show. It's a competition. Hey, you know what you can do? Start compensating people for coming to the draft. Hey, y'all, you guys that come and perform at the draft, you're going to get X amount of money. Give them the equivalent of a one week's check as somebody that's on the practice squad. Give them the equivalent of a week's salary as somebody that's on the practice squad. Sweeten the pot for the elite level guys. Give them more, right? And if you're not going to come and do everything, then you don't get paid. And if you're injured or whatever, like before it happens, then you don't get paid. Now, if you get injured while it's happening, you have insurance because you'll be under our insurance and you have money. Yo, there's so many ways to make this better, but it starts with the players. And we have to start giving them some of the shots that we send other places. You can't come to here as the RB7 or the RB8 and decide you only going to run the 40. You ain't going to do nothing else. You can't come as D tackle number 16 and decide you're not doing anything when the number one nose guard is out there running the 40, jumping, moving around at 360 pounds. Make it make sense for me. Yo, watching all of these names pop up as not participating, going and then looking back at the end of the night and wanting to like remember what such and such did in the 3-cone drill and the pro agility, because you know those don't normally get on TV as much, right? And seeing that nobody did it, or that 3 out of 25 people did it, or like 2 out of 30 people did it, it is utterly disappointing. You could not have paid me enough. Like, if you had just told me, hey, Gene, we're going to allow you to compete at the NFL Combine. You got to find your own way here, though. We're not paying for you to come. You got to find your own way. I would have done it. And you know how you can honestly believe that I would have done it? Because you have people right now who pay to go to combines leaving out of college. And they're not the NFL Combine. If you told somebody right now, hey, you can come to this combine, but it's going to cost you $1,000. But you're going to be able to be seen in front of every single football decision maker in the NFL. It is not a player. Oh, and we only have 300 slots or whatever, however many they bring. We only have such and such amount of slots. You would not be able to run out of people willing to pay that $1,000 to come. So if you're paying the freight for them to come, right? What are we doing? What are we doing? The NFL, you're making money off of this. I don't even know how much money No Bull is paying to sponsor this. But if I was No Bull, or if I was Under Armour, who I believe used to sponsor it before, if I was whomever was a sponsor before Under Armour, if I was No Bull, I would need some guarantees that the elite names are going to actually be performing. Or maybe I decide, is this where I want to spend my money at? Right? I'd have to ask some questions. Because what are we doing? Like, why is this even a thing? The disappointment of watching almost no quarterbacks go through the quarterback drills. Like, go through the testing drills. Yo, this league, the one we're in right now, this league, more than any other time in the history of the NFL, you need to be athletic. You cannot be out here Peyton Manning in it. I guarantee you. Yo, you know all that other stuff is real cute. Here's what I guarantee you. Let Tom Brady have hung around another year or two. It's not that he was getting too old to play. It was that he was too old to take the hits. Because if you play the game the way that Tom Brady played the game, even though you get the ball out your hand quick, you're going to take hits. Y'all favorite catch and thrower right now, right? Your favorite catch and thrower right now, right? Brock Purdy. He's the favorite. He's the catch and throw favorite son. Get the ball out quick favorite son. Why do y'all care that he's athletic if he gets the ball off in rhythm? If he gets the ball off on time, if he plays on schedule, why does it matter that he's athletic? Because sometimes you can't wait for the schedule. So sometimes the schedule gets sped up and you've got to be able to move. So now more than ever, the quarterback should be showing you his athleticism. They should be showing you that they have the dynamics to make plays when things break down. But instead, you know what we get? That's what we get. I ain't gonna do this. I ain't gonna do that. And the audacity is it doesn't just come from the elite level guys, from the guys that are picked to go 1, 2, 3 first round. We've got guys who are going to be 3rd and 4th and 5th round picks who probably won't even make their team, that are opting to not participate. How do we only have 3 quarterbacks do everything when you quarterbacks know most of y'all are not sticking in the league? And if you do, you're going to be a career backup. And that might be good enough. But why are you not showing other dynamics? Why are you not showing other leagues? It's frustrating to say the least because we can do better. We have done better, and everybody's been fine. Tom Brady ran the 40, did all of the testing. He was fine. Tom Brady blew his knee out. He was fine. Carson Palmer did the same thing. Blew his knee out. He was fine. Life is not over. We've only been duped into believing that everything has to be like this right now because these coaches don't want to do their job. They don't want to develop talent at youth league anymore. They don't want to develop talent in high school anymore. They don't want to develop talent in college, and they don't want to develop the talent in the NFL. Every level wants the talent to already be done. And I'm asking, well, what are you going to do? Everybody just wants to get a quarterback that's already polished. We have discussions all the time in high school. Man, if I ever just got one. If I ever just got one. Right? But the truth is, when are you going to create one? When are you going to build one? I get it. You don't get the elite level talents. When are you going to build one? And to the NFL, we can say the same thing. Bro, at some point, you guys have to take one of these guys that Kurt Warner doesn't believe is fit to play in the NFL because they don't play on structure. And you got to teach them how to play on structure. You got to give them the confidence to know how to play on structure. But you know what else you got to do? You got to empower them to use that athleticism so they don't feel like I don't want to show I'm an athlete because somehow that's going to be a detriment to me. So I'm not doing any of these testing. And if they don't want to do it, bring some other people in here. Let them come on in and see what they can do. Finally, I want to give a shout out to Caitlin Clark. Continues to break records. I don't like this new thing where they're like, oh, well, she scored more points than Pistol Pete. They don't play the same game. What are we doing? Right? They don't play the same game. They're not playing against the same levels of talent. They're not like, what? Okay, never mind. You know, y'all don't care. Did Pistol Pete have a 3-point line? Then, you know what? It doesn't matter. Here's what I'm going to say, right? We all know that the Caitlin Clark effect has a lot to do with the fact that she's a white woman, right? Like, not that she's not a baller. Let's just stay there. She is a certified killer. She is a fantastic, but it adds the extra because she does not look like what we see the predominance of. It's the same reason why Sue Bird was so revered. It's the same reason why Tarazi gets a lot of love. It's the same reason why you had Asia Wilson, who should have won another MVP this year, not win the MVP. Because the perception is when, oh, she's a baller, she's a killer, but then she's also white? Oh, snap. Here's the problem, right? With women's basketball, they're not doing the thing that allows you to continue to build off of the success. The success wasn't from last year, and the reason why people were so enthralled in the game last year wasn't just that Caitlin Clark was good and white. It was that Iowa, right, made a run to the championship versus the team that took down South Carolina, who was looked at as the juggernaut. It was the little engine that could team versus the evil empire team, because as much as we love individual players, team versus team always sells more than player versus player. Player versus player is a great is a great storyline within the team game. And this year, we haven't heard a ton about LSU. We haven't heard a ton about South Carolina. We haven't heard a ton about Iowa. You know what we've heard a lot of? Caitlin Clark. And it should be Caitlin Clark and her Iowa squad are trying to make another run. They're not the favorites, ladies and gentlemen. She is the cheat code, and yet her team's not the favorite. South Carolina has not been beaten. If they draw where they play South Carolina, it could be curtains for them, right? It could be. That's the intrigue, right? Not just that Caitlin Clark is doing this, is that Caitlin Clark is doing this on a team that is not a power, is not a powerhouse team. So now if you build up the brand and the profile of Iowa, when Caitlin Clark leaves, guess what Iowa continues to do? It continues to be relevant. But if you don't boost the profile of Iowa while Caitlin Clark's there, then they go back to being Washington. Remember, when Kelsey Plum was at Washington, it was all about Kelsey Plum. And I love Kelsey Plum. Like, I love Kelsey Plum more than I love Caitlin Clark. That might be for some reasons that don't have to do with basketball. But when Kelsey Plum was there, we heard about Kelsey Plum. We heard about Kelsey Plum. And then when Kelsey Plum left Washington, we didn't hear about Washington anymore. You want to know the best part of what UConn did? UConn built the brand. And then the stars that just kept populating that brand, they kept the brand up. So we talked about Maya Moore as a part of the brand of UConn. We talked about Swin Cash as a part of the UConn brand, and Sue Bird and Tarazi and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. Player after player after player after player after player. You know why? Because we never forgot about the brand. We talked about Shamika Holtzclaw. We talked about Candace Parker. We talked about Kara Lawson and all of the great players that came through that Tennessee program. But we talked about Tennessee. Tennessee. Baylor, right? We talked about Baylor as all of those players came through Baylor with Kim Mulkey there. And then when she went through LSU, now she's gone to LSU, you know what her game plan is. Build the profile of LSU so that as we lose stars, we get more and we keep the brand of the team up. Not let's just all about the one person and make it seem like it's her and a bunch of schlubs. And why should we care about this team? No, you build it all together. You make it make sense all together. That's how you brand build. Building a brand off one person never allows the brand to be sustainable without that one person. Yeezy is nothing without Kanye attached to it. Because the brand is built off the person. Jordans, right? Jordans, the Jordan brand is going to always be there because the brand has transcended endorsements. It's transcended the need for other people. People aren't buying the Jordans because of Michael Jordan. They're buying the Jordans because the Jordan brand is a status symbol. Most of these kids right now don't even really understand how good Michael Jordan was. They just want the shoes. They just want the colorways. They just want the brand. And so the trick is, how do I get to transcend just the one name and turn it into the name that never changes? year after year after year. It don't matter if it's Carmelo or if it's Darius Miles or Quentin Richardson or if it's Zion Williamson. It doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter if it's Derek Jeter. Doesn't matter. Roy Jones Jr. Doesn't matter. The Jordan brand always reigns supreme. Right? That's the team. And that's what they failed to do with Caitlin Clark. That's what they refused to do with Caitlin Clark almost. They wanted to make her this cyborg one-woman wrecking crew, and you missed the boat. And now she's gone. Now she's out. And more than likely, she's going to be out without a championship. So in all of the years that she's been there and she's been kicking butt and she's got the records of everything, what did she actually win? She's got more endorsement deals than anybody she's making more money than anybody in the WNBA is. But what does she actually win? She'll go down in history. Right? She'll go down in history. But what history has she allowed her team to make? It's not her fault, by the way. This isn't an indictment on Caitlin Clark. She is not the person that's promoting herself. You guys are out there. The people that are in charge of the NCAA women's basketball promoting her, but not promoting the team at the same level. It was a bad move. If I was talking to my homegirl, Karita Parks, I would ask her the question, was this the best PR play for the NCAA or for the University of Iowa to always be doing everything so Caitlin Clark-centric? Where did they miss the boat on allowing her to be the rocket that propelled the entire team, the entire university, into national prominence? That's what I would ask her. I might still do it. Man, she's so good, right? She's so good. Somebody somewhere said that she's actually like losing money coming back. I mean, by leaving, she's losing money. She's taking a pay cut. And I went, why is she taking a pay cut? If, right, her name, image, and likeness, those deals aren't attached to Iowa. So all of those same branding deals that she had at Iowa, she should still have those same branding deals when she goes into the WNBA. What are we doing? What are we talking about? You think Gatorade's backing out because she's going to be in the WNBA? Right? You think some shoe company is not going to come along and offer her a bag because she's going to the WNBA? No. The brand, and if she's making money for the brand, which she should be because I'm sure her socials are crazy, that's what it's for. And now she doesn't have to worry about school. All she has to do is play basketball and pitch products. Yeah, if I'm Angel Reese, I'm out. All this, they should stay in college forever. I was kind of on it, but then I was like, no. Because college still comes with school. And it comes with other restrictions that you don't have to worry about as a professional. So I think Caitlin Clark will be just fine. I don't think she's going to lose any money, right? Because the one entity that she wasn't receiving money from, the school, is now going to be the entity that pays her, the WNBA team. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. We do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Till next time, peace.